Hi, this is Mike Jacobson with Attune Investments, and we are recording for a series of videos talking about people retiring soon or already in retirement. And today we have Tom McNamara. He is a realtor in the Orlando area. And Tom, would you like to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Sure. Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me on. I have been in the real estate industry for a little over a decade. Prior to that, I was in the telecommunications field, um, in retail sales, and I was in the Navy for 6 years. Done a bunch of different things, and around 2013, 14, I got into real estate as an investor and started investing in real estate and learning how to do that. And it was a lot of fun. And so in 2016 or end of 2015, my telecom career came to an abrupt end when I was told that I was no longer needed where I was. And actually, it was a really, first of all, it was a blessing in disguise. But second of all, it was really eye-opening because, I was right at 50 years old and looking at like what's the next 10 to 15 years of my life going to be like. And I had always thought about retirement and planned for retirement and was somewhat active in it, but I became intensely active in it and being let go from that relatively high paying job forced me to think about how I was going to insulate myself from being reliant on one source of income.
And
So
that
I'm married. I've been married for 38 years. I hope I got that right. 37. It'll be 38 this year. And I have three children, 35, 26, and 19. So we've got three kids kind of spread out.
is a little spread out, and congrats on being married that long. That's a major accomplishment.
It is. It is.
And sounds like
So that's about it for me.
okay, so that was a real shocker when about the age of 50, you end up being forced out of a high-paying job and had to
Mhm.
transition. And that's when you started looking more into real estate as a realtor. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So, believe it or not, I got into the realtor side of it. I would say as a almost like a second thing, like just to say I'll do this while I find a real job. And I did. 4 months later, I got another job, and I just having started that real estate career and realizing how lucrative it could be and how free it could be. That was probably the key, really, more than the money. I did go back to work in telecom for 2 years, but it was not what I had just gone through for the last 15 prior to that. And so I was not to say unhappy, but not fulfilled. And so couple years into that, I decided to go full time and double down into my real estate career.
Okay. And were you thinking about real estate investments along the way with that, or was it more on the idea that, hey, you like real estate and you wanted to help people there being a realtor? What, how did
Yeah,
that fit together?
yeah, sure. So, for real estate investing, once I started in 20 end of 2013, I have been full bore into real estate investing almost to a fault. I don't have any money in the market at all. The only thing I have that's not in the real estate world is some crypto. I bought some crypto at the behest of somebody that's pretty intelligent guy, and it's worked out well so far. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm heavily invested in real estate. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that as I think through my plan, I need to figure out how to divest a bit from how exposed I am to the real estate world.
Okay, so you're looking at other things outside of real estate, like the crypto and other things, or diversifying more with the real estate within the real estate?
A little bit of
Okay.
both. A little bit of both. So I've dabbled in some commercial. I own a fractional share of a piece of commercial property. I'm also in a syndication on a ground up build for an assisted living facility. So I'm invested in that. But again, that's a real estate play, right? Um, so I do that. I do the crypto, but I think as I think through what life is going to be like, this year, next year, probably the same, right? Similar. But as I look 3 to 5 years out, I want to simplify my life. And honestly, keeping track of real estate, I directly manage a lot of my real estate. I spend a reasonable amount of hours, studying things and looking at things. And at some point, I want to stop having to do that as much. So I may just, divest out some of that money and put it into more traditional markets. One of and when I say that, I mean, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, right? Just your traditional boring, make it work kind of stuff. Because you don't have to keep an eye on that all the time. You just, it's going to
Exactly.
be
It's
there.
so
It's going to work. Even if the market crashes a little bit, it comes back eventually. It's just a steady thing. Whereas real estate, I've got one of my pieces of real estate I've spent $30,000 on in the last, 9 months, and that's going to take 3 years to recover from cash flow, right? Now, if I sold it, I'd recover it, but you know, um, it's not always the lucrative cash flow passive income thing that people sell it on. And the other complexity for me is a lot of my real estate I own inside qualified funds like an IRA or a 401k. And so you can't commingle your money in there. So if I have a property in my IRA, um, and it needs a new roof, the money for that roof has to come out of the IRA. Well, that means I have to have cash available. And having cash available in the IRA means it's not invested, which means it's not making money, right?
correct. Yes.
So, there's a little bit of inefficiency in what I'm doing. And, if it's five or $10,000, it doesn't matter. But if it's 50 or $60,000, it does. That can affect your actual rate of return quite a bit.
Right, because if the property's outside your IRA, excuse me, you don't care where the reserves are. You can have those same common reserves for all your different properties, but if when it's in the IRA, that IRA really needs to have IRA money available for that property.
Correct, correct. So it does make it a little tougher. And I funny story when I first got into real estate investing, my first two properties I bought inside my IRA. And when I bought the second property, I had probably about 3 grand of liquid cash left in the IRA, and I had to repair the property. Thankfully, there was only about $1,600 worth of repairs needed. But I mean that account was diminished down to, almost nothing. And everything worked out okay. We got the property rented and everything, came up. I think that year I did have to pump some extra money into that IRA, but I was able to because it was a contribution.
Right.
So
We had
if
a
it was
similar
something
case.
bigger, I would have been in trouble.
Right. We had a similar case with a HVAC unit one time. The AC went out in the rental property and we had to replace it. And since it was in my IRA, the money had to come from the IRA. And it's like
Hmm.
I had nothing left.
Yeah, yeah, and it can happen. So
Right.
I've gotten a lot smarter about how to do that now. And I do know, and I have resources I know how to borrow money and make things like that happen. And it's tricky inside an IRA to borrow money. But I know how to do it now, and I have resources. I have people that'll do it for me. So I'm a little less concerned about that. But again, I'm managing the money all the time.
Right. Okay. So, moving on to another subject.
Yeah.
No, you send out a weekly newsletter, email to a number of people you have contact with, and one of them
Mhm.
recently was talking about 55 and up communities.
Sure.
And I thought you might be looking at those for yourself. I don't know, but that's, one of those things that people do consider as they are moving into the retirement age.
Yeah, absolutely. So 55 plus it's a fascinating creature. And obviously Florida has a reasonably high, I don't know the number, but we have a lot of 55 plus communities, and I know Arizona has a bunch. And I'm not sure how popular they are in other states, right? But I know we have a ton of them, and they all have different rules about, percentages of people that can be under 55, and then there's some real questions about whether it's even legal, about how much they can restrict people. But the big thing is that, in case you didn't know this, one of the things about that allows 55 plus to work, is that they pay less of a development tax than a traditional development does, because they theoretically are not going to impact the schools. So if you build a neighborhood of 1,000 homes, there's a high percentage of people that are going to have children and go to schools. If you build 1,000 homes that are 55 plus, that percentage is much, much smaller. You're going to get a few grandkids here and there that, have to go live with grandma and grandpa, but you're not going to get, the high percentage. So they actually have a smaller impact fee, which allows them to be more profitable, you know, for the
Right.
developer.
And I don't know
Yep.
if that affects the property taxes in there or not. It might, but the age, I think, is probably a greater factor.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think it affects them, because property taxes are strictly based on millage rates,
right.
right? So, millage rates and obviously the value of the property. So,
Okay.
um, so yeah, so and the draw to 55 plus is, obviously, people that are similar to you, right? Similar age, either retired or about to be retired. There's lots of different options. There's the Margaritaville, right? That's heavily influenced by Jimmy Buffett and the lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have to, be involved in that, but
Yeah.
that's probably what a lot of people there, kind of gravitate towards. And then, you have other ones, like the villages. If you haven't heard about the villages, you haven't paid attention to Florida at all. It's gigantic. It covers
It
four
is.
counties. It's huge. It's almost too big. Everybody drives around golf carts, and that's the big thing there, is right, is everybody driving around golf carts. I forget. I think they have like 15 championship level golf courses up there, and it's all free. It's all part of your HOA. Now, if that's what you want to do, that's probably the place to live. So, they also have some other interesting hobbies up there.
Right.
Yep.
So, what are some of the things that you and your wife are looking forward to doing in retirement that you haven't been able to do at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so that's very personal for me, right? Because obviously everybody's journey through life is different. I mentioned that I have three kids that are very spread out. So our travel, up until now, really, has always centered around our children, because you had to bring them along, right? I mean, you could leave them behind occasionally, but you're mostly bringing them along. And so you wrap your stuff around it. You're going to go to theme parks. You're going to go to federal parks, or you're going to go to a state park, or you're going to go to the beach. So those kind of things that have a lot of kid activities around them. So now we're actually starting to experience travel without the children a lot more. We've taken a couple trips up to New York. We took a trip up to Niagara. I know that's still New York, but we were up in Niagara recently. When I said New York, I meant the city, right? We're going down to Miami soon, right? So we're doing more travel on our own. And that's something that we haven't been able to do before. But our big thing, which is something we've had in the plans for about 6 years now, is to buy an RV and travel around all 48 states and maybe Alaska, for 3 years. And so visit all the states. Obviously, we want to avoid, Maine in the winter time, but we want to go visit all the states. And we have a list of things that we want to see in each state. And my personal thing, I'm a big football fan, so one of the things that I want to do is actually go to a game in every single NFL stadium. I've gotten to six so far, so I have 25 more to go.
So, I don't suppose the Buffalo Bills are going to be on your list for a January game, or
They
or
might
is it?
be. They might be that. So, and the same thing with Green Bay, right? I mean, if you're going to experience it at the best time, right? Now, Buffalo is going to have a new stadium that has some interesting features that supposedly they're not going to be able to. The snow is not going to get down to the field level anymore. But we'll see. Well, so it's still going to be an uncovered stadium, but somehow they're going to pump enough heat in there that the snow doesn't accumulate. So
Well,
we'll see how that goes.
that'll be an interesting experience. Have to
Yeah.
follow as you make it around to the different stadiums and see the different teams there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's, and then, from there general plan is going to be to have a home base here in Florida. Be it, I don't know that it'll be the place that I live in now. I'm going to say it's too big of a house, but it's not configured it's configured for a family. It's got 4 bedrooms plus an office, and I don't need that, so I could go with maybe the same size house, but configured more for the lifestyle that we'll have with no kids living at the house. Um, and maybe lower our expenses a little bit. We're in kind of an expensive HOA community, and so look for something that as a home base for that, and then just continue to travel, but obviously not as dedicated. Like I said, it's going to be 3 years of nothing but travel. So
That will be awesome. Just being able to live in the RV for a while, and you know, I,
mhm.
I know some other people who have done that. They've taken their kids around to the national parks in the summer times, and just created a lifestyle out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And what's great with the way the world is these days, you can do a lot of work remotely. My wife, she's a school teacher. She's getting ready to be an administrator in the school system. But when we do this trip, her plan is to go teach at a college teaching school administration, and she can do that from anywhere. So she can continue to work, for a couple more years while we're on the road, and support that lifestyle, so we don't have to dig into the investment income. We can kind of keep that building, right?
Right. Yeah, and like I say, you're looking for that to become more passive for you as the time goes on, and so you'll be
Absolutely.
more free for that, to do your travel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
So, so, looking at the 55 plus communities, I don't know, that might be, phase 2 or 3 for us, down the road, because, we'll see what it has. It's certainly not something that I've eliminated from our options, but definitely something that we looked at. We did do a video on it. It's on my YouTube channel. And the video covered, I think, 10 or 12 different 55 plus communities that are more or less in the area of Central Florida. So kind of went through, some of the pros and cons of each one of those. And they are interesting. And I was thinking earlier about a tour that I had of one, because I had a listing in a 55 plus, and I didn't know the community, so I got a tour of it. And the facility that they had, the common area facility, was gigantic. It was probably 40, 50,000 square feet. Had a huge pool. I think it had 3 pools. A giant gym, probably the size of a typical Planet Fitness gym. But there was hardly anybody that was actually using the building. And so when I was in there, I kind of questioned, is this that they're selling a lifestyle, but is it actually what the lifestyle is, right? And then talking to other people like yourself that live in a 55 plus community, different experience, right? Having tons of activities and people engaging in those activities. And, if I was going to look at a community like that, for me, that's what it would have to be, because I don't have any typical hobbies. I don't fish. I don't paint. My hobbies have always been around my children, number one. But I'm a movie buff. I love movies so much so that I have a movie theater in my backyard, right? So that's one of my big things. But my real hobby is being with people. Last night I played poker, right? I have a poker game twice a month. We get together and play poker. I go to trivia nights at different bars with different groups of friends, right? So we go and play trivia for 2 or 3 hours. That to
right.
me, that's my hobby, right? Is just being with people, networking, engaging, and doing those kind of things. So if I was going to move into a 55 plus community, it would have to have that. That would have to be part of it, right? Would be like, hey, let's go to the
Sure.
clubhouse because it's fun, you
And you
know?
want to see people there.
Yeah, yeah. You want to go to the clubhouse and be with people and hang out with
That's
people
right.
and get to know people, and that's to me, that's the best part of life is getting to meet new people or old people, people that you already know, right? And
Sure.
just having great conversations and learning, and that to me, that's what life's all about.
That's great, Tom. And we need to go ahead and wrap this up. And so just to recap a couple of key points there, you've been married, I think you said about 39 years, 38,
38, 38, yep,
38, almost 39.
almost 39.
Three kids, and you are approaching retirement, planning an RV trip. You've been looking at some 55 and up communities, but just not necessarily ready to move to one, but thinking about, yes, there's a lifestyle change, and you love being around people, you love traveling, exploring other places.
Yep.
Uh, is there anything else you would uh, want to tell anybody else, say your 10 or 20 years younger self, to do differently as you prepare?
Yeah, well, that's a great question right there. I think I did a pretty good job of preparing. I think the one thing that I would say to anybody is one for retirement planning, start as early as you possibly can, even if you're just doing a slight bit. If you're in your 20s and you can't scratch two nickels together, s- skip one cup of coffee and throw $5 in an account and just keep doing it over and over and over again. Build that habit, right, of making it automatic. And the other on the other side of that, on the flip side, I don't care what age you are, it's not too late to get started. If you're my age, you're 58 years old, and you're like, I don't have 5 grand in my name. Well, you know what? Start, right? Get started, get going, because you're gonna need to retire and Social Security is not going to be enough. So, get started, get out there and learn. There's tons of resources. Give me a call. My number's right down there. I don't know how to point to my number, but it's right down there on the screen. And give me a call. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm very passionate about retirement planning and investing. And I've got tons of strategies and tons of ways to take small amounts of money and leverage them into larger amounts of money.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And we will go ahead and post this on our channel. We have a Doors to Dollars YouTube channel that'll be going up on, and we invite people to also go to our investment or to our website at attuneinvestments.com, download the free ebook, Three Keys to Unlocking Your Retirement Dreams. And definitely, if you want, get in touch with Tom. We'll also put his contact information in the comments below. And I
That'd
think
be perfect.
you said you had your phone number. Did you want to well, I don't know if you want to give your phone number out, but
Yeah, no,
maybe an email.
I'm a real estate agent, man. My number's
Okay.
all over the place.
Okay.
This
So,
is my direct cell phone. It rings right here.
no,
407-754-6412. Give me a shout.
okay. Thank you, Tom. We appreciate it. Great seeing you.
Thanks, Mike. Great seeing you.
All right.